and welcome to yet another podcast from YoungWonks, and I'm your host Suchin. And as always, we're going to pick up some topics in electronics. This is the correct and current series that we're on basic electronics, and we're going to be learning about um, photoresistors today, right? And we learn about what they are, how they work, and what do they get used for, and then see them in a circuit. So as the name suggests, a photoresistor is essentially element, a circuit element which is sensitive to light. Its resistance increases or decreases based on the light that falls upon it. The photons, when they fall upon the photoresistor, they increase the resistance. So more light, more resistance, less light, less resistance. Right? So that is the purpose of a photoresistor. A photoresistor symbol, if you notice, is slightly different from that of a regular resistor and a potentiometer. You have two arrows going inwards indicating that the resistance is dependent on the light that falls on it. Now, the unit of measurement of the photoresistance is going to be ohms because it's a resistance. It's just that similar to the variable resistor from last time where you could control the resistance, here you can't control the resistance yourself, but you do have something that changes resistance as and when there is a change in light. Now, you can notice over here, when there is absolutely no light falling upon the resistor, you see that photoresistor, you see that it has a 180 kilo ohm resistance. That means when there is full light on it, when there's no light on it, it has a high resistance and has 180 kilo ohms. As the amount of light increases, so you can see on the left it's dark and the right it's bright, and as the light increases and it gets brighter, the resistance keeps coming down, and what was initially 180 kilo ohms in full darkness is now 506 ohms when it is highlight. So the uses are pretty simple. We use the photoresistor in light sensors because it can detect how much light there is, right? Light meters. It can be useful for saving power and to automatically turn on lights after a certain point. You might have seen these on different in front of houses where, or in the streets where lights turn on automatically after the ambient light goes below a certain level, and that's where this is useful. You can also use it to trigger an alarm, for example, where if a shadow is cast on a particular light sensor or the photoresistor, it means that there is a presence of a human being at that place, and then that could trigger an alarm, or it could also be an intruder alert. So, to understand this a little better, we're going to look at a circuit which involves our usual stuff, but this time I've also added a motor in there. So we have an LED circuit with 4 AA batteries, and what we will see, and I'm going to pull the circuit up. So what we will see is that we've hooked up a battery pack to a breadboard. The negative of the battery connected to the negative of the LED, the positive of the LED connected to the resistor, the other end of the resistor is connected to a motor this time, and the positive end of the motor connected to ground. As we increase, and you can see, So you can see this over here. As you increase the amount of light, the resistance keeps decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, and at a point it comes to around 500 ohms. In a circuit, what happens when you do the same thing is that initially the LED is so dim. As you move this down and the light increases, you can see the LED become brighter, and at the same time you can also see the motor begin to turn. You see it's around 4 rpm, 5 rpm, and 6 rpm when you give it the full, and the light is brighter as well. It's 1.96 volts. It is above the threshold voltage of the LED, and that's why you see it on, right? And if you do the same thing and you decrease it, you will see at some point the light starts getting blurred, dimmer, 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 and the motor also has stopped. This indicates two things: that higher the resistance, the lesser the current flowing through the system, and then that's why the LED is dimmer. And also there is a voltage drop which causes the LED to get dimmer as well. And both of those also have an impact on the motor, but in terms of the motor, it's the speed, where LED is the brightness of the LED. In case of the motor, it affects the speed of the motor, right? Higher resistance, motor's pretty much stopped, LED is pretty much off. As you increase this, light turns on, motor is also running, right? So this is essentially the concept of a photoresistor. I hope you guys understood that and had a good time listening to it. I'm going to be back with another topic in the next week. And until then, it's me, Suchin, signing off. Bye.